So from your perspective, just give us a kind of roundabout overview of the sort of legend that Pele was.
Well, he was the greatest player we've seen in football, I think. And, he didn't have a weakness. He was good at everything. He was a fantastic player. I had a great moment when I was 18 because I was sat on the bench when England played in Rio de Janeiro in the Maracanã Stadium, 200,000 people. And he played. And, to see him in the flesh close up, was unbelievable, and it was a great feeling. And I do remember personally, when I was playing for the Football League against the rest of the world at Wembley in '87, and he was the guest on the day, and he was introduced to teams. And when he came to me, for some reason, he grabbed me and put his arms around me, and gave me the biggest hug. And he was that sort of person. He's a really friendly man as well, and a gentleman, which I think, he had the full package. He had everything.
Peter, it's Aidan here in the studio. Good to hear from you. What did he do in terms of his ambassadorial role for football? Because his career finished in, the early 1970s. He played in America later on. But after that, he really toured around the world and did his bit for the game in general, didn't he?
Yeah, like I say, he was a gentleman. And wherever he went, he left a big impression, and... fans just adored him. He, as I say, never had a weakness really, and to win 3 World Cups was incredible, and he played a big part in all of them. We all remember 1970. Obviously you mentioned beating England 1-0 and Gordon's save, but in the final there, I think they beat Italy, wasn't it, 5, and Pele scored with a fantastic header. But going around the world, he was just a great ambassador for the game at that time. And as I say, the fans adored him because he was a gentleman.
And Peter, that game was so powerful, that World Cup final. My mum was in labour with me, and my dad stayed downstairs in the front room watching that match rather than come up. So I'm still scarred to this day. Anyway, on that point, I want to talk to you about this amazing image. The image of Pele embracing Bobby Moore, champions England, just been knocked out of the World Cup in '70, on the way, of course, to Brazil, lifting that trophy. That says so much, doesn't it, about Pele, the man. That's the kind of grace, the sort of favour, the sort of brotherly love that we so often don't see in the game these days.
Yeah, 2 fantastic gentlemen. I played with Bobby Moore, when I first started my England career, and Bobby was just fantastic. He had that aura about him. Nothing ruffled him, and he was a gentleman. And, they both got together after that match. I think England lost 1-0, but they actually went out the World Cup, I think, when they lost to Germany, didn't they, in that game when we were 2-0 up. But it was a moment, you're quite right, that lives with most football fans forever. They were both, great ambassadors for the game.
Peter, what would you say about his humility? Because he wasn't one to talk about his own achievements very often. If he was asked who the greatest player in the world was, he'd mention almost anyone except himself.
Yeah, well, that's what great people do. He did his talking on the pitch, didn't he? And that's what you should do. You should let me judge you, and whatever you do on the pitch, that's what you're judged by. And he didn't talk himself up. He was just, as we say, he was just a great ambassador, for football. Wherever he went, people loved him. He showed great dignity and humility. And it was just a one-off. He was just absolutely an icon of football. I think Maradona for me was behind him, just behind him in terms of ability. I thought Pele was superb in the air as well as every other aspect. And I just think that he, was the greatest player of all time, and probably will be for many forever, I think.